Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Open Office webinar. I'm Leanne Townsend. I'm a Customer Success Manager here at Function Point, and I've got joining me Sophia Wilson. She's a Senior Customer Success Manager here at Function Point, senior only by age. And today she's going to be online and answering all of your questions. So just wanted to check in. Sophia, you can hear me okay?
Loud and clearly, and I'm so glad you notified everyone about my need for the discounts at the local pool. With that senior title. Yeah.
Amazing. Okay. So without further ado, whoops, I've skipped past my first slide. Good start there. So today what we're going to be talking through is basic navigation. So what do you see when you log into Function Point, and how do you navigate through the system? Then I'm going to take you through a little bit of an introduction into our dashboards and how they work. And then I'm going to end today's webinar talking through a little bit of the different ways that you can time track through the system. So questions, please keep them coming. Sophia is going to be helping to answer those. And actually, to start things off, I actually do have my very first question to all of you listening. And that would be, what do you want to get out of this webinar? So what's your goal for attending? So an example could be maybe learning how to track time, just trying to gather some feedback from you. So the way you can actually respond to my question is just by going into the GoToWebinar panel here and putting in your question. So again, it's just what do you hope to get out of the webinar? So we're going to give you a minute here just to put some things into the question window there. And then I'm going to check into Sophia to see if anyone has answered anything yet.
Hey, Leanne. So we've had our first person pop on in there. So it looks like time tracking is actually pretty important to them.
Okay.
And we also have Bill that is wanting to learn the features that best support like their processes. So Bill, that's a really great thing. This might be more tips and tricks today, but we also are happy to maybe connect with you outside of the webinar to learn maybe more specific around your processes and how we can help with that. But I'm hoping what we do talk about today will definitely assist with supporting that.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much for responding. Okay, so we're going to move on here. So this is something that we do on a continual basis. So if you have anybody else that you feel would benefit from our open office webinars, please feel free to invite them. Our next session is going to be on February the 7th. So without further ado, let's get started. So Sophia, just checking in, are you able to see my Function Point login page?
Yes, I can, which of course just also is popping up around the $200 for your thoughts. So don't be afraid to ever do any of our surveys. Oh, and then of course our lovely pictures again. I love when all these things pop up.
Yes. So the only thing I really just wanted to point at here on our login page is just this forget password. So if you ever forget your password and your email address is correct and updated in the system, we will then be able to send you a link to reset your password. Another option for you if you ever forget your password is just to talk to your Function Point administrator. So that typically will be someone at your agency who has completed Function Point training. So I'm going to log in here with my secret password. And that'll take us directly into what we refer to as our classic dashboard. So anytime someone is new to the system, this is what you're going to see when you log in. And really the design of this particular dashboard is just allow people to quickly be able to add times against open jobs that they're working on, as well as any tasks that have been assigned. So tasks are individual assignments of work. And one quick thing just to point out, we've got from left to right here, we've got our main timesheets tile. And then to right there, we've got jobs. So this could be quite a lengthy list. So one trick would be to come in and just kind of have a quick look at this list. And you can actually start selecting the jobs that you are working on. And then you can go over here and select this My Jobs button. And this is actually going to filter that list for you, so you're not seeing too many jobs populated on that main window. It should just be the ones that you are working on. And you can also see here that I had this one that had a tick box here, sort of already selected, or pre-selected for myself. And that was because I was a job contact. So that's just going to depend on whether your agency is actually using the job contacts feature. If you're not, you can just manually go in and select some of these check boxes. And then below here, we have our tasks to-dos. So a couple of things just to point out that some individuals may not know about. This is the ability to actually sort this list. So maybe I want to sort by, and here I've got due date. So I can actually just select here, and it's going to filter the list for me, or sort the list, excuse me. To remove the sort, you just have to click it, and then it will actually disappear for you. The other way to kind of filter this list could be that you open up this drop-down menu, and we have a whole bunch of options here. So maybe I want to see things that are due within the next 7 days. I'm seeing quite a lot of tasks that I've been assigned, and I really want to filter this list. You can actually go down and select that. Or maybe I just want to see things that are starting soon. And keeping in mind, this is actually just my sandbox version of Function Point. And when I do that, I'm only going to get one option here. So again, it just depends on the volume and how you're managing the tasks that you've been assigned. And then in this top right here, we've got something called pin notes. Now, notes in Function Point are used to capture communication. The way that I typically use notes really is to record meetings that I attend. And then if somebody maybe on my team hasn't attended, or maybe the content of that meeting is relevant for other people, I actually will pin that to their dashboard. And when you do that, it actually lives within the pin note section here, right on the dashboard. And one thing I would recommend once you do review what the content of that note is actually going back and unpinning it. You just want to keep your dashboard looking really clean. So it should be really filtered to your jobs. You know, what are the tasks that you're working on and need to be completed? And also just cleaning up, you know, if you have any notes within here already and you've already reviewed them or they're not relevant, just unpin them so that it's looking, the key information is available to you right on your dashboard. So Sophia, anything to add to that, or any questions coming in from any fantastic listeners out there?
Hey, thanks for checking in. There weren't any questions from anyone through the box, but I'm just confirming. Did you also show how you just have to click it 3 times to clear the sort?
I did.
I'm so sorry I missed that. I'm the worst.
That's okay. It's a really good thing to just highlight again. So if anyone's joining late, what I was showing is just that you can sort the information available here. And as Sophia mentioned, if I want to remove the sort, I then click it 3 times and presto, it is gone. Awesome. Thank you so much. So this is going to work for the majority of the individuals within the team. This, again, is our classic dashboard. It's available to everybody. However, if you have, or maybe you want to change this up. Maybe you don't want to see pin notes on your dashboard, or you feel like you want more screen real estate for any of these tiles. What you can do is navigate to the super navigation bar up here. We have the ability to actually customize dashboards. So I've had my classic, which has got a tick box letting me know that that's what I'm looking at now. And then there's another one that I have added to my own system, which is the BI visuals. And so if I toggle and I select BI visuals, that's going to change the information that's presented on this screen. What's great about this particular dashboard is I can actually drill in. These are all links, and it's going to present a list for me so that I know which 48 jobs this particular job summary report is pulling, which are my open jobs. So again, this is something that you can configure, and it really does depend on your role. So I'm going to walk through an example of customizing the dashboard. And one thing to note is when you do customize the dashboard, it's just going to be available to you. It's not going to be something that the rest of the team is going to see in their drop-down options. So if I go and select to customize the dashboard, I'm getting this pop-up. And what's nice about this particular one is it does have the numbered steps available here. So again, anytime you are presented with the numbered steps, we'll follow that order. So you can see my classic, my BI visuals, and then I can go ahead and select a new dashboard layout. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then I can come up here and I can, I'm going to say, maybe I just want to see jobs. I want my jobs to have more screen real estate, so I'm going to select that. When you get here, if you're creating one from scratch, you will not select to use a template, but we do have templates that you can pull from, and that one that I showed before, which is the BI visuals, is available. So if you do want to use a template, you would select this, and what's nice is then steps 3 and 4 are already selected for you. I'm going to go from scratch because I'm just a really fun person here. And I'm going to select jobs, and I'm going to go ahead and select a new layout. And in this case, I want to see, very similar to the classic view, I want to see my timesheets, I want to see my jobs, and I want to see task to-dos. I don't want pin notes. That's not going to work for me. So when I'm done making my selection, I'll hit save and close. And then it's going to default to the previous dashboard view I was looking at, but now you can see that jobs has been added, and I'm sorry, I can't think of anything more original to add there. But I'm going to select on that, and now my jobs has more screen real estate. Perhaps there was additional information I wanted to see here. And then below I've got my tasks and my timesheets. So again, I can go ahead and add as many different dashboard views as I want. We do have the templates if you're kind of looking for some inspiration, or go ahead and create one depending on your role, and use it, and decide, you know, depending on what you're needing to do. Again, you can toggle between the two. So that is our dashboard. So I want to try this out, so bear with me here. I'm going to launch a poll, so just a question. I'm curious to know, what is your role? So in a second here, you're going to get a little pop-up. It's going to ask what your role is at the agency. Just curious as to, you know, who we have listening and how we can tailor some of our content for that. And I can see a lot of coming in here. So I'm just going to give it a couple more seconds. Most of you responded, which is amazing. I'm going to put Sophie on the spot and get her to read out some of this information.
You know what?
We just want to hear your voice, Sophie.
Well then, let me just talk then, Leanne. I was actually just going to quickly pop in, you know, as people are still filling out the poll. Thank you again for doing that. We do have Sarah that's just asking in regards to alerts and when tasks are being assigned to her, and really just making sure that things aren't getting lost. Sarah, okay. Yeah, there's lots of alerts that can be set up in the system. I don't believe Leanne's planning on touching on those today, but if there are things that you're worried are getting lost, I would recommend going to your FP Prime. So that's the person that's gone through training here with us at Function Point, and just talking about like what alerts you feel you need, and they can either set that up for you or give you the permissions to be able to control your own alerts. So there's actually so many that I've even had to shut off some of my alerts in the past because you can get too many. So there are lots of options, and that's something that can definitely be organized for you. Leanne, is there anything awesome. You want to add to that?
No, that's great. I actually, at the end, perhaps I'll just drill into just looking at if you do have the permissions to see alerts on your own individual staff page. I'm just going to maybe have a quick, I'll dive in a little bit and just show where that's available so people can see what they're maybe that they're subscribed to. And there's also, just to add in, you can actually receive an in-system alert, and I'll point out where that would live, or you can receive an email. So it really depends on how you would like to work. So I'm going to close the poll. How exciting. Thank you so much for responding. Awesome. Okay. So now what we're going to look at is just our main navigation bar. And when I'm talking about the main navigation bar here, I'm just talking about this main black bar here. And it has all of the different modules in Function Point. Going left to right, and sorry, I should point out, this may look different depending on what levels of permissions that you have. So perhaps you're logging in, we've got a lot of account executives here that perhaps don't see invoices. It just depends on the level of permissions. So my system, because it's my sandbox version, it has absolutely everything. So we've got, going left to right, we've kind of got companies, contacts, and notes, and that's really like the CRM side of FP. And then we've got briefs, and briefs are something that are quite interesting, depending on if you do require someone to fill in what the scope of the job is going to be, giving some design direction. You can actually go back in the back end of the system and template it out. It's like a free form. So if there are things that you're doing at the agency that you're filling in, maybe perhaps check out the briefs. They don't just have to be a creative brief. They're used in so many different ways. We've got schedules and tasking. So again, that's going to be individual assignments of work. Like, we know we win the job, but how are we going to manage everyone from a resource perspective to make sure that we complete this job on time? And then we've got projects, estimates, jobs. So again, just talking a little bit of the hierarchy, think of a project as a file folder or an umbrella that houses multiple related jobs. And then we've got our estimates and jobs. We get a lot of questions like, why do we have estimates and jobs, and how are they related? So every job in the system has to start with an estimate. You can't open a job without one. And really, it's the client facing side. So you can put together a proposal. When that goes ahead and it gets approved, you turn that into the job. I would recommend in the estimates just to use our approval statuses. They are underutilized, and it's really great when we're looking at, what jobs do we have, out there from maybe a prospect end, and what is the value of all of those proposals we have out there, which of them have been submitted to clients, and how many of those have been approved. So again, using those individual different statuses does help to help with the workflow there. And then we've got expenses. Anytime you're working with an outside vendor, we want to capture that expense in the system. Timesheets, pretty standard. And then invoicing, so that kind of completes it. You may or may not see reports. It houses some of our reports in the system. And then admin, which again, Sophia was talking about, people that have completed training with us, they typically have access there, and it kind of controls what we see in the system when we go to like a drop-down list, for example. So if there's ever something missing, please do talk to anyone at your agency who has completed training, because perhaps we can make tweaks, or they can make tweaks to the back end. When I mouse over each one of these, I'm getting a find, view, and add. So that's consistent with all of the different modules. Do get a lot of questions about view. People are like, hey, this isn't our complete list, or, why is this only presenting two? Again, these are two companies I previously looked at, and it's really helping me to quickly navigate back to these particular companies. Perhaps I work with them quite a lot. This certainly isn't going to be a complete list. And again, it's going to be specific to the individual person who has logged into the system. So this isn't going to be, somebody else's searches. This is going to be just the ones that you've looked at. And then at the bottom there, we've got add. So anytime you want to add something new to the system. So I'm just going to check in with myself here. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick find of the company. So I'm going to click in here, and we're being presented with all of the fields that we saw on the previous page. When you add a company in, this is all the detail that the system is going to ask for. And it's so great. The more information you can fill in, the better. Since we do have the majority of listeners who are account executives, maybe I just want to pull a list of my active clients. So I can open up my dropdown. This list I'm being presented with is something that's controlled in the back end. It lives within admin. So sometimes people are like, hey, why am I not in this list? I should be, or vice versa. They're saying I shouldn't be in this list. So again, just talk to your function point prime, or the person that does controls the back end of the tool if something needs to be adjusted here. So Mark Wilson, I'm going to select Mark Wilson. I want to see all of my active clients, or his active clients, so to speak. So again, I'm going to be presented with a list. And this is available in all the modules. Really great use of the find is pulling reports. So again, you have any data that's in the system can be extracted. And typically, if you're looking for a report and you're wondering how you can get different outputs, investigate the find pages and see what you can do within here. So I've got my list, and one of the really cool things that we have here is this manage columns. So I'm going to select manage columns, and what this is allowing me to do is to select what I want to be displayed in the previous page. So maybe I don't really need to see edit, I can just remove that. Maybe what's important to me is, let me check what all of these ones are. Let's say qualification and classification, and maybe the industry. And then that is going to, as I'm selecting those, it's being updated along the bottom here. And you can actually drag and drop these. So I'm going to remove fax because I certainly wouldn't want that. And maybe I'm going to remove web. Okay. And then I can go ahead and move or adjust how the information is going to be displayed in the next page. So I'm just dragging the different columns. Once I'm done, I've made my selections, I've dragged and dropped all the items, I would then save the column, and that's going to update this list here. And what's great about this is now I can see all the gaps. So maybe I want to update some of these clients I'm working with to add in the qualification and classification. And I can also print this information. So if I want to print this as a PDF, I have the ability to do so. And I can also export this to a CSV. The two drop-downs are, the first one here is just saying, I just want to export only what I'm looking at on this screen. And the second one is exporting all the data. So this is going to bring over everything that you've added in the company ad page. So that's a little bit about how you can kind of use our find, manage column features and how you can export the data. I'm going to drill into Burrard Street Golf, for example. So anytime I'm seeing a blue link here, it's letting me know that I can drill into that information. So here are all of the fields that we saw on the previous page when I was going to my find. If I needed to update something, I can just go easily over to this edit. It's going to open up all of the different fields for me. Throughout function point, you might see different fields with asterisks beside them, and that's just letting you know it's mandatory. It's a mandatory information that you need to add. So I'm going to go ahead and just hit save or update anything that I need to change within this field. We've got different qualifications. This is an underutilized field, I believe, and it's something that could be really valuable to the account executives that are listening. This is just maybe an opportunity to say, okay, where in the sales cycle are they? So I'm going to close that out, drop it down, and then I'm going to hit save to save any of my changes. Actually, one other thing I might want to point out while I'm here is this custom. So you can, the function point administrator can actually add custom fields. So if I want to track anything else, maybe there's a field in here that I'm really hoping to add in here that might provide some value when I'm pulling out my reports, you can add it as a custom field. So that's something that we've added in the back end of the tool and is being presented here for me. And really why I wanted to show the companies is that when I was learning the system, I found it really valuable to be able to come in here and sort of see what the history of this client may be. So if you look along here, this is really just exactly as we're seeing along the navigation bar. So every single job I've ever created will live within here. All the estimates, any projects that are available. Do I have any schedules? Have I ever created a schedule? Or are there any tasks that I need to look at? And anytime I'm drilling in here and I'm seeing the blue links, again, you can go in and go directly to that view. So for me, it was valuable in that sometimes I would take a second and need to kind of ground myself. And this is somewhere that I would come to kind of see a complete history of everything I've ever done. And certainly if you are utilizing the notes to capture communication, capture any conversations you're having with prospects or clients, you can add them in as notes, and then that whole history will be available. Doesn't matter who added it into the system, this is going to capture absolutely everything. So anything, yeah, go ahead. Sorry, I'm just chatting away here.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. No, I love it.
No, please
this actually
do.
This actually connects to a question that Sarah had asked earlier, just in relation to like when you unpin a note, she was worried that it might like just disappear and be lost forever.
Oh, okay.
This is the area I was just describing in my answer to you, Sarah, that all notes are still stored in the system. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Great. Yeah, that's a great question. And certainly I would have the same fear. But yes, so everything would be available to you if you want to look at it from the company level, if you remember the client, or maybe you want to find the note under the contact, or you can go right into the notes area. So you'll be able to find the history of the notes. But yes, this is certainly a place that I personally would come, and I did come and do continue to do, especially when I'm looking at contact communication. Like if I want to know, who Sophia has talked to or what the latest communication is, I can go directly in here and check it out. So yeah, that's just a little bit more on being able to find different items in the system. So I'm going to go back to my dashboard. Oh,
I was just going to make a joke. Do you stalk my communication with my clients that much?
I do,
yeah.
And I print them
okay.
off as PDFs, and okay, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I? So there's two different ways of getting back to the dashboard. The first is just you can actually click your logo, which is pretty cool. So up here in this left-hand side, or you can click FP, and that's going to take me back. So I'm going to go back to my classic view because I'm going to be talking about time entry. So the first way of tracking time in Function Point is the job. So again, what I did was I filtered this list, just making sure that I'm seeing all of my relevant jobs here. And you can actually just go ahead and select this time clock, and that's going to populate the information over here. And we're seeing these blue items here letting us know that that's mandatory. So I'm going to say I worked on it for an hour. And then I've got all of my lists of services. And the services are actually pulled from the estimate. So if you're wondering, hey, this looks like it's not our complete list, it's because this is being pulled from the estimate. And the estimate, you go ahead and you say, okay, well, how many hours are we going to spend on each of the services? And that's why we're being presented with this particular list here. I'm going to say that I did some web design. That'd be really scary if I ever attempted it. And then I would fill in my description of what I did, and then I can go ahead and hit submit. And that's going to add it to the bottom here. So this is my daily total. If I choose to, if I've been assigned some tasks, and you can see here, I've been assigned a bunch of tasks, and I'm ready to work on a task. So again, if I wanted to work on web design, for example, I just need to move that particular task in progress. And when I do that, it's letting the traffic manager know that I'm actually working on the task. So they might be getting some alerts now saying that I'm starting this task. If they've subscribed to say, tell me when a task that if I've assigned it has moved to in progress. And I'm going to click the timesheet, and again, the time clock, and that's going to populate my timesheets window. So again, I'm going to add some time here. I'm going to fill in my description, and I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. So just one thing to note about tasks. When you are finished with it, please do move the status to completed. It is really helpful just to make sure, again, that we're always looking at clean information in the system, and certainly will help from a traffic side. Okay, so Sophia, any other questions out there? I will finish by showing the alerts piece, but any other questions?
Yeah, this is one that just, it's another view, and I think it's important to share because I'll fully own this. I'm the worst when it comes to my time tracking. I wish I could do it every single day right after I'm done a meeting, but it's usually on my Friday at the end of the day that I'm then frantically putting in my timesheets for the week. Is there an easier view that I can accomplish that with, or is it only this sort of tile that I can use for my time tracking?
Okay, awesome question. So if you do want a quicker way to add time, I would recommend using the timesheets by week. So this is going to show any job that you've added time previously for. And you can also go ahead and use the magnifying glass to pull any other jobs that are open in the system. So if I wanted to add time against, say, the spring package update, I can go ahead and add it here. Again, I'm going to tell which particular service I'm going to be putting my timesheet against. If I'm doing research, for example, I can go ahead and then throw in my timesheet. So I'll go ahead and do that because I'm a hard worker and I've done my 7 hours for today. But it does allow you to retroactively go back to a previous week. So if I'm looking at the top left-hand corner here, I can go back to a previous week. and I can go forward if I need to as well. So we've got our date picker. Should you need to go back a few months, you can do that. Or you can just go ahead and continue to add timesheets against the week. And when I want to disappear from the screen, I can go ahead and just hit the close button. It's going to take me right back to my dashboard. So does that answer your question? Is there anything else you would add?
Yeah, no, that's great. I also just wanted to add that you can also put in that description in the box. I'm not sure if you pointed that out, like after you've put in the time, the description box pops up. So just an important thing to add there for everyone else. And then my other question for you, Leanne, was in regards to the task tile. Oh, thanks, Sophia. You're welcome. But you have to add in hours, Leanne.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
I know I'm being recorded, so of course it's going to happen. Okay.
Yeah, and then my other question was just in regards to the task tile. I noticed that some of them have clocks, but others don't. Can you just differentiate between, like, the clock to be able to click and track time automatically? So if you navigate back to the dashboard.
Yeah.
And then
how
here.
That
task to do. Yeah, sorry, I wasn't describing it very well. That was my bad.
Oh, you were. Yeah, so again, if you don't see a time clock on the line item for the task, it's just because it's sitting in the status of either draft or assigned, depending on what you have filtered here at the top. I have everything that's assigned to me that's in assigned and in progress, so that's why I'm seeing just the tasks in those statuses. So in order for me to get the time clock, again, I'm just going to mark it as in progress, and then I'm going to get the little time clock, and I can make a timesheet against the task this way.
Yeah, and while we're just talking about those task statuses, we did have a really good question from Melissa as well. And she's just wondering if it's necessary to confirm the tasks. So with the task statuses, we put in, Leanne, would you mind just popping open that drop down for me?
Yes.
Perfect. So really the completed and the canceled are really the most important ones. The confirmed, we put that in for a customer, years ago. I think that was, I couldn't even remember how long ago we put it in. And it's just for more of like a review type process. So if, the individual completes their task and then like a manager wants to come in and then confirm all the tasks, just confirming that they've all been completed correctly, you can do that. But they both have the exact same meaning in the back end of the system, so it's not necessary to confirm tasks.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. Yeah, that's more of a workflow thing. So it's just, I can move the status of the task to completed, but it's, again, like Sophia was mentioning, if you do want to have another step in your workflow where you do go back and just confirm it, that's why it is available. But that's an awesome question. Thank you so much. Okay, so before we end today, I just want to show that alerts piece because that is a really, really great question and something we can show. We do have a couple more minutes here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up, I'm going to do a contact find, and I want to do a find over here. I'm going to open up my list, by staff. And I'm going to do that because I'm not seeing my own company page in here. So this would be a list of anybody who is a staff person at Function Point. So again, because this is my sandbox, my agency is Function Point. So if I was Isabel, I could go into my page, and then we can see that in here we have all of my information if I'm Isabel. And I want to make sure, again, my email address is up to date here for that forget password piece. But I've got this subscriptions tab. So, this is interesting. She doesn't even have an alert subscription set. That's okay. So Sophia was mentioning before that this is typically something that is done from a prime. So what we've done is we've preloaded systems with these different alert sets. And we said, okay, what would a typical account executive need to be notified on? So when I select something like that, I will be able to see anything that the account executive has been subscribed to. So if you do want to make changes to anything that you're seeing within here, you do just want to let your prime know because they can make adjustments and tweaks to the grouping that they have in the back end, or at an individual level, you can go through and actually open and expand all of these drop downs and make selections. Like if I want to I might want to be alerted if I'm a job contact anytime a new brief is added to the system. I can go and make that selection and then go ahead and say, do I want to receive an in-system alert? So that's going to live within this super nav bar under this bell, and it'll show a little red number depending on the number of alerts I have. Or maybe I want it to receive an email. So I'm showing you kind of a bad example because she didn't have any subscriptions. But again, it's going to show you anything you are subscribed to. So you can just open up the drop downs to see what you're subscribed to, and then maybe make tweaks and adjustments. But do have a conversation with the Prime, because there might be a reason behind why you're being given that particular alert. But certainly if you're feeling like, hey, I might be missing out on something, I need to be updated on that, go ahead and subscribe yourself to receive that alert. Here's a good example. So if, let's say, Isabel is a project manager, these, again, are controlled at the back end of the tool, this list of all of these sets. So this is the ability for a Prime person to say, okay, like there are a bunch of, let's say, account executives, and as a group, these are the alerts that I would want them to subscribe to. So they've created that grouping. But again, if I'm Isabel and I'm saying, okay, as a project manager, let me just see a particular one here. I've been subscribed to two things. I'm being subscribed to say I want to be notified anytime an estimate is approved or an estimate is declined. I think those are pretty relevant things. So I'm not going to remove them, but perhaps I just want to receive an email. I can go ahead and just deselect those checkboxes and then hit submit. And that's going to remove me from that grouping in the back end of the tool and then save my new selection. So I'm no longer living within that grouping of alerts. I've actually made my own modifications, but I do think it's a good conversation to have, because perhaps what you're requesting would make sense for the rest of the team. So again, I'm just going to close today. I don't know if there's anything else, Sophia, that's come in that you want me to touch on.
No, honestly, I think you've covered everything I would. I know you're hovering over the next thing I would say. So
I am. We're so in sync here. Okay, so I just wanted to close off just by saying that there's a team of people here to help you. And one of the best ways of contacting them, so I remember earlier on in this conversation, someone was mentioning some workflow questions they had. That's awesome, or processes or advice that you need. Please do feel free to reach out to the customer success team. We don't have a direct link from our product, but our email is success@functionpoint.com. And that goes to all of our team. And then we will reach out if we are your customer success manager. So every single agency has a designated customer success manager. And we all receive the email at success@functionpoint.com. And then we will respond. So please do get in touch with us. Let us know if you need anything. We're here to help. If you get into the product and you're noticing something's a behavior or something's looking buggy, you can go ahead and contact our support team. They're amazing. Not as amazing as our team, of course, but you can contact support, and this is going to send in a ticket to them, and they will respond directly. This is a really quick way of you getting in touch with them, or you can email them at support@functionpoint.com. And then we also do have a really great resource of training materials, videos. You can go in and check out our webinars or previous recordings, and that will segue into me saying that at the end of this webinar, you'll receive a recording of it as well. So yeah, that's really everything. Please, if you have any remaining questions, we'll keep the questions open just for another 5 minutes or so, or reach out to success@functionpoint.com if you need a little bit more of direct, or you want to walk through a workflow. We're here to help. And thank you so much for attending. Really enjoyed it. Thank you, Sophia. You were a great co-pilot.
Thanks, Leanne. That was super fun. Yeah, that was great.
Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a lovely afternoon.